have a problem, they go to Brahma, and Brahma then, conveys that message, and then Krishna speaks from within the heart, gives that answer within the heart. So it's not an ordinary thing to see the Lord face to face. So Arjuna was already seeing that. So he already had transcendental vision. So what is this divine eyes? So it's like a demotion. It's a lesser form. In other words, it's a heavenly vision that he was allotted. It was actually material vision that he was given, because actually pure devotees, they're not interested in this material vision. They're always living with transcendental vision all the time. So in this way, Arjuna was interested, like Gopal said, is the reason why he wanted to see is because for the benefit of those impersonalists who, or people who claim that I'm God, okay? If you're God, then you have to show the Virat Rupa. Krishna is not simply he has to walk the talk now. In the 10th chapter, he's saying, I'm the light of the sun, I'm the taste of water, but then he's not showing anything. So why should I believe that? So Krishna now has to show. Arjuna wants him to show to the world, to these impersonalists and atheists, that this is God, and this is the vision that he's looking at. How Krishna has so many arms and bellies, and everybody is rushing into the mouth, being smashed by their teeth. So this is the form. So the demigods were watching because they have these heavenly eyes, right? They're already part of the heavenly planets, right? And Sanjaya is also a very exalted soul. So it's understood that he would also have he got a boon, right, where he could see everything and relate to Dhritarashtra exactly as it is. So that's my answer. That it's actually not anything amazing. It's something that materialists, even, and Krishna says that even nobody can see this form in one of the verses, right? No amount of austerity or penance can anybody see this form. It's only by bhakti can you see this form, right? Even the Virata Rupa is not an ordinary form to see. Even the materialists weren't seeing. The people on the battlefield, they couldn't see this form. None of them could see this form. They were not given this vision that Krishna had to give Arjuna.
Yeah. So what Arjuna was seeing before the Virat Rupa, he was actually at a very transcendental level. He got demoted to get the divine heavenly eyes to see the universal form. But even that cannot be seen by everyone, which is also special. Yeah. The answer I gave to that person was Sanjay was able to see because at the end of the Gita, the 18th chapter, he was blessed by Vyasadeva, like you said. Vyasadeva, he says, by the mercy of Vyasadeva, I have been able to see and recite this entire Bhagavad Gita. And so by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Sanjay could relate to Dhritarashtra what only Arjuna was given vision to see.
I was just thinking in terms of the vision that Arjuna sees, how the Gita describes how there were what Arjuna sees is a universal form. He sees how the entire universe is in the body of Krishna, and it describes he sees all these warriors going into the mouth of the universal form. Some of them crushed between Krishna's teeth, and in response to that. In seeing this, Krishna tells Arjuna that nimitta matram bhavasavya sachi, that you just become an instrument. Why? Because all of this has already happened, and you're just an instrument in this great battle. And look at the bigger picture. He's saying, just see this, the larger picture of the universe, and how everything is going on, and you're just a small particle, small part of it. And then, so many times in our life, we get this experience that that there's incidents in our lives or things happen that make us see the bigger picture. And this is what Arjuna is experiencing. Just like we were discussing how there's this devotee in Mariupol where the battle is taking place. And this devotee was sharing his experience that in the middle of this war, he realized how our day-to-day struggles are so small, And there's so little when all of a sudden the world changes around us. So I actually wanted to hear more about this. I wanted to ask this from you, Prabhu, that how do we apply Arjuna's immense vision of the universal form and the fact that we're just a little instrument? How do we apply that in our day-to-day life? And how does that make it significant? How do things in this world, how do they become significant for us in the expanse of this huge vision? So given that Krishna is a universe and this universe is going on all by itself, and we are just a small particle, a small living entity in this universe, how do we see the big picture and how do we understand ourselves in this big picture? It's a very big question. But
that's a huge question. Yeah, so that towards a third of the 11th chapter is where Krishna reveals to Arjuna, because Arjuna is fearful, Arjuna is astonished, Arjuna is bewildered. He doesn't know how to handle this vision of Krishna in front of him that's used to be his friend, someone who used to hang out with and just tease, and they would tease each other and eat together and sleep together. All of a sudden, this person's become this huge form with thousands of heads and thousands of mouths, and within the mouth is entering all of the enemies he's about to fight and being caught in the teeth. And he's just like, and he asks Krishna, is like, who are you? Who are you? And what is your mission here? So he has these two questions. And then Krishna says, Kalosmi, that I am time, the destroyer of all things. I mean, pretty strong stuff. Imagine meeting someone and saying, and the person tells you, yeah, I'm time, I'm the destroyer of all things. Yeah, nice to meet you. What you doing for dinner tonight? This is pretty heavy stuff. So Krishna's he says, I'm time, killer of all things. And he says, all of these people are already dead. It's going to happen. And as you said, nimitta matram bhave save sachin, that to become my instrument, if you're not going to do it, it's going to happen anyway. And then the next verse after that, again, Krishna says, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Jayadratha, these main powerful warriors ahead, right in front of you, they're all going to die. So 3 times he emphasized these people are going to die. And he tells Arjuna, enjoy the kingdom and just be my instrument. I mean, for one, it would make someone humble, wouldn't it? Like, I'm not the doer, and I'm not making things happen. They're just kind of like the force of divinity, the force of karma, the force of things that are beyond my vision and my grasp are making things happen. At the same time, we have a job to do. So Prabhupada explains in one of these purports that materialists people think that things are happening automatically or things are happening by chance, when in reality there's a larger plan to how the world is moving. It's a very complicated and very intricate subject matter, especially when we consider things like injustices or wars or crazy airplane crashes like we were just talking about. I mean, it's a very complicated subject, right? Or to make complicated implications from that statement to say that things are happening according to a plan. At the same time, we can't just sit by and say, let things just happen, I'm not going to do anything. So we have a nature. So the Bhagavad Gita repeatedly talks about our natures and being able to understand our natures and acting according to our natures to fulfill a mission. So my understanding of how this would apply to us as a tiny living entity in this world where there's a big plan anyway is to try to keep connecting with the fact that there is a big plan anyway. You know, like on a daily basis, studying these scriptures that help to ground us. Otherwise, I know that for me personally, I find myself getting caught up in the day-to-day and not understanding there's a big picture. So the connection with the scripture and having friends who help me, as well as chanting the holy name, help me to ground myself with the fact that I'm tiny and I'm just playing a part in this world, right? And then to ask the question is, what does Krishna want from me? Because here is so clear for Arjuna. Krishna is telling him, kill him. All right, you got it. I'll do it. I mean, it's so clear, right? All of us might ask the question, okay, so what am I supposed to do? It's probably not to kill your family members. Let's just make that pretty clear. Hopefully, that's not the conclusion. At the end of the Gita, at the 18th chapter of the Gita, Prabhupada raises this question. One may ask, what am I supposed to do? And the answer is that we try to follow the principles of the Gita from a sort of large level, as well as on a day-to-day basis to have some guidance in our lives, a spiritual master or a teacher or a mentor or a combination thereof, to help one be an instrument of God in the various environments they find themselves in. So through that guidance, through the guidance from Super Soul in our heart, to try to be an instrument. And it's really complex. To give a very specific answer to that kind of general question is very tough. Yeah. So would you like to maybe comment on how is it that, because the very next question I would have is, where does free will play in all of this? Because everything's predestined. Do we have free will? You want him to do it? Okay. Delegation.
So, thank you, Prabhu, for the very nice reflection. Just in terms of what you were saying, Krishna is, through the Gita, he's pushing us in the midst of our life to see the big picture, right? And I think that's what you were saying, is that it's not that the only purpose of life is bhakti, is love, right? The reason why Krishna creates this world is lila, or play. There's no purpose to life beyond this. What else is there to accomplish other than loving the Lord? But in our day-to-day busyness, Krishna's reminding us that see the big picture. For all of us, there's always a clock that's ticking, and we forget that, at any point we can die. Death is there. But recognition that these things are temporary and that we have a permanent purpose in this world is what the Gita's consistent message is, that remember the permanent benefit. What is the long-term, what is the most important principle in life? What is the most important goal in life? Just like we were discussing, some people, they don't have legs. They're born without legs, or they lose their legs. And one person who didn't have legs, he was saying that anyone who has legs, that person might be a homeless person. I would volunteer to switch my life with them. This is how, how fortunate we are just to have legs. And we don't realize it. We think, I have so many problems, right? How many of us think that we have a lot of problems? We all think, I have so many problems. Right? But what's the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture is very different than, what is Krishna's plan here? Just to, last thing on this point is, one time, Srila Prabhupada was speaking to Tamal Krishna Goswami, who was doing very important work for Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was particularly very pleased with him. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was complaining to Prabhupada, this is there, and this problem is there, and that problem is there, Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, there's thousands of galaxies in this world, Actually, they say 100 million galaxies, each containing 100 million stars. This is what scientists today say. So, 100 billion galaxies, each containing 100 billion stars. So the 100 billion galaxies, within those galaxies is one galaxy, our Milky Way galaxy. Within that galaxy are 100 billion stars. We have one sun, one solar system. Within that solar system are hundreds of planets, and one planet is planet Earth. And on that planet, there's one country called the United States. And within the United States, there's one state called New York. And on New York, there's one street. Oh, which street was that? Huh? Henry Street. Okay. Maybe that wasn't in New York. I can't remember. Henry Street. And on that street? Los Angeles. Okay. So I see. So in Los Angeles. And he says, on this street, there's one temple, Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish temple. And in this temple, there's one Tamal Krishna Goswami. Yet he thinks he's a very important person. So the Gita is reminding us of perspective, right? That we must do everything we do for God, but also remember who is in control, right? We must remember why we are here. So this is the reminder of how we are just an instrument in this great plan. Now, how does that relate with free will? If we're just an instrument for the Lord's plan, then what is our role? Because not just for Arjuna, even for our present day society, Srila Prabhupada said, actually, that this Krishna consciousness, this movement, will spread around the world. We may be part of it or we may not. It will still spread because Lord Chaitanya has predicted it. No one can stop it from spreading. So then what is our role in terms of, does our free will matter? And do we have true freedom? Well, our role is to be an instrument, but our free will is what type of instrument do we want to be? Right? That's our free will. How good of an instrument do we want to be in that plan? Right? Are some of you here musicians? Anyone here a musician? Yes, you're a musician. What instrument do you play? You play the violin. Oh, that's a perfect instrument. So if you have the violin, if the strings are loose, will the sound be nice? No. And what's the best violin that you can buy? So you know which specific ones are very good and others are less good, right? So if the strings are tightened nicely, if the wood is very high quality, if all the all the different elements of the instrument are very nicely put together, then what happens? The sound that comes out is very beautiful. But if the instrument is low quality, even if the player is very good, the sound won't be so nice. So Krishna is the player. Krishna is the, he's the director, he's the actor, he's the one who's doing everything. We're just the instrument. And he's playing the song. But it's up to us how good of an instrument we want to be. And that's, I think, where our free will is. Our free will is, do I want to be an instrument that, that just does its job, somehow or the other gets through life? And, that's still very good. Do I want to be an instrument that has a hole in it that doesn't even play? Or do I want to be an instrument that's very finely tuned, in perfect tune, or perfect step with Krishna, and thus allow Krishna's song to come through me? It is not us, the doer. The Gita says this again and again. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. It is a fool who thinks I am the doer. So we are not the doers. Krishna is the doer. But it's our choice if we want Krishna's song to play through us or if we want Maya's song to play through us. Right? If we want, you could say, the mundane rap music to play through us or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to play through.
So when Arjuna gets this message from Krishna and he's trying to assimilate all of this, I was just expressing how Arjuna was feeling a lot of fear, a lot of angst, because it said that like moths are rushing into the fire, or as rivers rushing towards the sea, these enemies of Arjuna were headed towards the mouth of death, right? So what other, in this, as the chapter 11 weaves itself, what other emotions do we find Arjuna experiencing? Because one of the sweetest things in the Gita, at least for me, is the Krishna and Arjuna as two people exchanging, and the rasa, the relationship between them, and the emotions that they exchange with one another. Would you like to?
So Arjuna has this friendship with Krishna, which is very intimate. They sleep together sometimes, they sit together on the same bed, they jest with each other. Actually, Arjuna would joke and say, consider himself a Kshatriya, like a prince, and would consider Krishna a Yadava, like you are lesser. And they would constantly joke with one another. And suddenly now he's seeing this terrible form where he's realizing, oh my gosh, what have I done? I have done so much offenses towards this is my friend. Just like one would discover suddenly that if you have a very close friend, you suddenly discover, my God, his father is president of so-and-so or something, of this country or whatever, or he owns the whole city of Naperville or something, right? So then what is your going to feeling is? Yeah, well, you're going to be in awe, but you're also going to feel like, wow, I have such a great friend, so like that. So Arjuna was having this intimate relationship, and when he sees this terrible form, he suddenly, first he's wonder. It turns into wonder. What is this? This form is so amazing and so, out of the world. And then it turns into fear, right? Because he's seeing all these people rushing into the mouth. He's realizing that actually he is the instrument, because Krishna has already done the job. Already these people are destined to die. I'm simply a small instrument in this whole plan. And therefore, the purpose of the instrument is to follow the order of the player. The player is the one who's doing the playing the instrument. So he's realizing that. So Prabhupada explains how these emotions like fear and wonder, these are secondary emotions. So there's 5 primary rasas and there's 12 secondary rasas. So at this point, Arjuna is displaying one of the secondary rasas, fear, wonder, fear, which is based on that. It has to, these secondary rasas, they must be based on a primary rasa. So we see in this world how the original source of these relationships is Krishna, right? These primary rasas, which are, the neutral rasa, and then the master and servant relationship that we can have with Krishna, right? The friendship, then parental friendship, and conjugal love. So we have all these types of relationships ourselves in the material world. But you can see what a mess we make out of it, right? Every relationship we have, like when you go to work, the boss, we can't stand him, we're just there for the money, right? Every relationship is a total mess. Ultimately, it's a mess, right? Friendship, we've heard so many stories, some good friendship, and it turns sour eventually over time. Nowadays in Kali Yuga, there's not much of, even among parents and children, there's so much strife, right? Nobody gets along with anybody, right? So, and then, conjugal, of course, we have plenty of that, divorce and, everything. So these primary rasas are existing in pure form in our relationship with Krishna. Okay, so sometimes these secondary rasas, they become primary, they overshadow the primary rasa. So Arjuna's, love as a friend is turning into wonder and fear. And so Krishna is very, aware of that. And quickly he wants to show him his 4-handed form and then his 2-handed form so he can get back to his original relationship with Krishna, right? Just like Krishna showed Mother Yashoda, for a short time, he showed her the universal form, right? And she was very bewildered, but then quickly he took away that form so she could be established again in her real relationship. So in the same way, Arjuna is going to be asks in this chapter that Krishna, I want to see this form, this original form, this peaceful form, this sweet form, this human form. And that's why we have to understand that this two-handed form has within it the four-handed form and the universal form, and how it is the topmost form, and everything is in this form. And it has to be the highest form. Because many materialists will say, and they will say that this form is the highest. It's so impressive, right? It's scary, it's impressive. And this is the form they think is the ultimate form. But this is simply a material form. Even though it's coming from Krishna, it's simply a form that is very temporary. Just like we have a material body and then we have the spirit soul, right? So like that. So Krishna's transcendental form is what is the transcendental form, is spiritual form. So in this same way, we can understand this, I was thinking. And the other point, you gave a very nice analogy about how, the vision that Arjuna is seeing is how the rivers, the waves of the river are entering the ocean, and also the example of the moths running into the fire. So the waves of the river entering the ocean is compared to compared to like Bhishma Dev, how he immediately could change his material consciousness into spiritual consciousness. Like when he was dying, at the end of his life, when he was dying, then he left behind his material consciousness, and he was able to just be with Krishna in a spiritual form, in spiritual status. And the moths rushing into the fire is like Duryodhana, how he was forced to, enter death because of his behavior, right? So I was thinking how Bhagavatam is so nice, how it compares through these analogies.
Yeah. And Arjun tells Krishna, when he shows the two-handed form, Arjun tells Krishna, my mind is now composed, I'm now peaceful. Yeah, and then Krishna tells him, which he told him earlier, that this form, that this universal form cannot be seen by everyone. You need special vision. And then when he shows this form, the two-handed form, then he says, he uses the word sudurdarsham, that this is even more difficult to see, this two-handed form. And you can't do it with Vedas, you can't do it with penances, you can't do it with taking baths in all the holy places, you can't do it with scripture study, and so forth. And that's like towards the end of the 11th chapter. And then Krishna makes some concluding remarks from chapter 11. Would you like to comment on those? Let me comment. So, the last two verses in my study of the Gita was something that I've really appreciated in many of these chapters is that we find, the concluding verses, Krishna points us to bhakti. Whatever else he speaks about, he points us to bhakti. Think about chapter 6. At the end of chapter 6, after explaining the whole Ashtanga Yoga process, he points to Bhakti Yoga. Chapter 7, he does the same. Chapter 8, he explains, different yogis can go different paths to reach the transcendental abode, but he ends with Bhakti. Chapter 9 is fully Bhakti, especially text 26 all the way to 34. Chapter 10, he ends with Bhakti. Chapter 11, the last two chapters, there's absolutely no doubt about what is the goal of the Gita. It's Bhakti. Chapter 12, it ends with, you find that chapter 13, he talks about the various Sankhya Yoga principles. He ends with Bhakti. Chapter 14, he ends with Bhakti. So here we see in chapter 11 also, the last two verses. I'll read the verses because it's oh, you want me? Okay. So text 54 is Bhaktya Todanyaya Shakya Aham Eva Vidorjuna Gyatum Drishtum Cha Tatvena Praveshtum Cha Parantapa My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service, that is ananya bhakti, can I be understood as I am standing before you and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way you can enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So he says three things. Gyatum tattva, drishtum tattva, and praveshtam. That is to know me in full, to see me as I really am, and praveshtam, to enter into my understanding, into the mysteries of understanding Krishna. That would be nice. God is really mysterious. I mean, the soul itself, who we are, is a mystery to us. It's like really deep. But even deeper or more subtle is the concept or the reality of the absolute truth of God. And to have such refined consciousness, to be able to touch that, wow. Krishna is saying you can get that through Ananya Bhakti. And then the last verse is, this is a 5-part formula. 5 things to go to Krishna, right? If you want the ultimate vacation that never ends, 5 things. Mat karma krit, mat paramo, mat bhakta sangavarjita, nirvera sarva bhuteshu, yasa mameti pandava. Mat karma krit, which means he who engages in doing my work. Mat paramo, who keeps me as his goal. Mat bhakta, one who becomes my devotee, who engages in my devotional service specifically. Sangha varjitaha, gives up all kinds of attachments. Nirvaira sarva bhuteshu, he is not an enemy of anyone, rather he is a friend to all living entities. We do these 5 things, mameti, you come to me, Krishna says. This is how he ends chapter 11, after showing the universal form, which seems so fantastic, and like you were saying, that's what people might see. It's like, that's the goal, that's the highest. Bhakti. So, yeah, sure.
So in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 2nd canto, 1st chapter, is all about Virata Rupa. Is the first step in God realization. And in one of the purpose, Prabhupada explains that we don't need to worry about seeing this form, you know. And what would be equivalent is to go to the temple and see the deities, you know. And this way we can see the real form of the Lord, and this way make quick advancement. So I just wanted to end with that note, that because in this 2nd canto, 1st chapter, Virata Rupa is explained in so many ways. If you've read that chapter, it's explained in so many ways. You know how it's explained how Krishna's body, you know, it contains all these different things in the universe, everything, you know. So his limbs and his body, everything. You know, the lower planets are under his feet and his legs and his thighs, and the higher planets are his chest, his neck, and his head. The Mahar planet, the Jana Loka, and all these lokas, they are his top part of his body. Then the Virat Rupa is also explained in another form, you know, as the 4 classes, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and, you know, Vaishya and Shudra. The Brahmanas are the head of Krishna and the arms like that. So Virat Rupa can be explained in many, many different ways. But Prabhupada explains that you don't worry about that. Just come to the temple and see the beautiful form of the Lord, and that's it. This is as good as seeing the Virat Rupa.
Anyone have any comments or questions? Can we have someone to run the microphone, please? Oh, yeah, you too.
So you start with seeing, like Mataji.
You got that one? Okay.
So, oh, here we go. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. That's the Atma we're talking about. It's in the air. So, you know, the question is, first in the comments, you start about seeing God. But the comment about Prabhupada, you use the word time. Like Srila Prabhupada, that's comments. Srila Prabhupada talk about time. When you have time, please chant Hare Krishna. As initiation devotees, if you missed out chanting the 16 rounds, instead of you go up, you will go down. In other words, or you'll be neutral. You cannot get the answer within the Atma. Because according to the translation of the Atma, oh dear Krishna, engage me in your service. And no matter what we do in life, whether in the kitchen, whatever we're doing, is God's work. Because everything belongs to God, true or false. The question is, within the chanting of the holy name, we have a conversation. That's the question. To you all.
I think it is the time. We have gone much beyond our... Sorry.
Is this working? Thank you, Gopal Hari Prabhu, Aruda Mataji, and Yamuna Jivana Prabhu. Really, really appreciate that wonderful discussion. We could go on, but I don't know, this thing is not working. Oh, this one? That's not my job.
Okay. So I can do it now. Yeah, you can do it now. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Oh. Hare Krishna. So in the spirit of this chapter, which is recognizing the greatness, share the Lord's greatness with everyone by showing the universal form. So here, the devotees of the Lord, like Srila Prabhupada, they are engaged in that work itself, that they are sharing Krishna's glory, Krishna's message, the Bhagavad Gita, to every town and village, to every person, through their writings, through their books, and through their teachings and their disciples and temples. So on April 10th, which is just coming up here in 10 days or so, on April 10th, we will be installing a beautiful Murthy of Srila Prabhupada here at ISKCON Naperville. So here is the poster for it. Srila Prabhupada was very much like Arjuna. He was a devotee of the Lord. He wanted everyone to know about Krishna's greatness. And Krishna showed his universal form. But how will others get to know it? Right? They'll get to know it when we share the message with them. So this was Srila Prabhupada's life's mission, and he established 108 temples around the world, translated over 80 volumes of books, initiated thousands of disciples. He would only sleep 2 hours a day, very otherworldly. And to glorify him and to remember his teachings, to also feel his presence, there, in every ISKCON temple, you'll find his Murthy. And this Murthy is so powerful, when most people come in, they think that someone is there. One lady, she came in the temple, and she just waited there. When would the sadhu move? And then after about 15, 20 minutes, she says, oh, it's a Murthy. It's not. So Prabhupada is actually here. He's always been here. He's in every ISKCON temple. And on April 10th, we'll have a life-size replica of Srila Prabhupada. And as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we want to glorify him also. As devotees of Krishna, we want to glorify his devotees. So please bring all your friends. Please share this occasion. This is also the occasion of Ram Navami Day, the appearance day of Lord Ram. It's a very auspicious day. We'll have a very auspicious program here and a huge feast at the end.
Thank you, Gopal Hari Prabhu. What he said is so true. Wait until you see the Murthy of Srila Prabhupada. You will never move away from him. It's so attractive. And Shyam will speak more about that. I'm going to make 2 announcements. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Vishal Agarwal. He is celebrating the 6th birthday of twin children, Naksh Agarwal and Nriya Agarwal. Is the family here? Are they here? Anybody from the family? Okay, so we will offer our prayers for this family. And Sandhya Mataji is sponsoring the Sunday feast as well. Please, can you, Shatrupa, can you please do this? So as always, let us all chant the holy names of Krishna and pray to their lordships for the spiritual well-being of all these devotees who are sponsoring our Sunday feast. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, for a temple exists here to serve the community, and community exists for helping us to serve you better. So every Sunday we are having the Sunday feast program, and it is not, Sunday feast is not manifesting by itself. We don't have any kalpavriksha trees or something from where we can receive the prasadam. There is a whole group of devotees who are working in the small kitchen downstairs. I'm going to announce the cooking team's name today. You can see how many devotees have to work in the kitchen to be able for the temple to serve food that is offered to Krishna Prasadam. So you will really appreciate this. Today's team is Rohini, Deepika, Archita, Deepa, Radhe, Supriya, Rasika Manjari, and the lead is Kathamrita Devidasi. And we have 4 devotees who are cleaning: Ramdas Prabhu, Rutul Prabhu, Tejas Patel Prabhu, and Amala Atmana Prabhu, and one more, Zach. I forget the last name, Zach Prabhu. He's always here. There he is. Yes, so these devotees are working really hard to serve the community. So please give them a big hand. So for future Sundays, if you desire to sponsor Sunday feast, you can please contact Ramdas Prabhu or Shyam Prabhu. I'm going to pass this mic to Shyam. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Once again, thanks for waiting a little bit extra minute. I would like to conclude my announcement in next 2 minutes. First of all, a deep gratitude to everyone who is putting this extra effort, whether cooking. I mean, combined, there could have been around 24, 40 hours put in just to prepare prasadam and cleaning. Same way, a lot of effort goes to collecting donations and putting extra effort to organize those events, and hours. And I can't tell you how difficult sometimes it gets having no ideas. So a deep gratitude to everyone who is putting whatever effort to make this temple run and operate. So the second thing, fund temple construction is directly related to donation, right? That's clear. There are many other things, but donation is very, very critical. And it's not that difficult like to bring the donation, not that I'm looking everybody you to write your check, sacrifice, but you can be a little bit creative. And here is one creativity I want to call upon is, Braj Mohini Mataji and Sri Kishore Prabhu and kids, I think Sri Kishore Prabhu is here, but kids and Mataji, they left, and the son Uddhava, maybe 8 years old, or 8 or 9 years old at most. And this kid alone may have raised maybe thousands of dollars. 8 years old kid, whatever possible option, whether it's for parking, whatever he participate in competition, and whatever the money he gives back. And today, it is a little bit emotional for me. They had to leave for India, and Uddhava, a bucket of money, he left to Dhananjaya Pandit Prabhu, as his gratitude and support to build this temple construction. Here it is. I am not sure what else I should say, and I feel extremely privileged that my message is being delivered. Right? So the people are getting, not everybody, but here is the money, here's the book, you can count it, but I don't count. This is worth than thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now I am obliged to make Uddhavaj's temple under construction, right, Prabhu? Or complete the construction. Thank you, Prabhu. So likewise, there are two wonderful opportunities, and I really don't want you to miss out. Last Sunday, I announced that a Prabhupada deity installation, we are asking $50,000 for deity, and it sometimes sounds like a lot of money, but it is not. You can put it in a 5-year pledge. You can make a small donation, and those who had already made the donation extend a little bit. We have already last week, now we had 2 sponsorship. We got 3rd sponsorship, and that from Patibahu Prabhu and Kathamrita Mataji. Please give a loud Haribol to them. So now only 2 slots are left open, and I really want this slot to be sponsored by congregation. Again, anybody can sponsor, but the congregation is a little bit better because Prabhupada is very special for us, right? So same way on the day of installation of Prabhupada on next, April 10th, there are other opportunities. You can, if you can't do that big, you can sponsor the altar, Prabhupada, the altar. There are food, there are prasadam, varieties of sponsorship. You can cook prasadam, you can bring so many opportunities. The last thing you want is wait for the last minute and miss out. Already the Prabhupada Paduka was $2,000. Very next moment somebody pick it. And this is for lifetime. Lifetime the Prabhupada Paduka will be there for people to see. And that's what the opportunity, some fortunate people took it. Same way this altar is very nice. So likewise many other opportunities. But in addition to that, on May 15th, we are doing Hema Malini ji. And Hema Malini ji coming to Naperville is not an easy thing. Just you think of her profile and stature. She doesn't have to go to this kind of a small temple construction. She can go to temples where hundreds of crores of temples are built, and there people will receive with helicopters and everything. She's that stature person, one of the top 10 female personality in the country of 1.2 billion people, right? So she's not ordinary, and we're very, very fortunate with a lot of effort with Sangeeta Mataji, and give a big hand to Sangeeta Mataji for putting that effort to somehow convince Hema Malini ji to come here. So now my one simple ask, a very humble ask to everyone. Talk to Sangeeta Mataji and ask Mataji, how can I help you? She's not building her home, she's building temple. She's building temple for you and your kids and your grandkids. So this is our responsibility and opportunity to just talk to Mataji, how can I help you? Is there something I can do? Can I fill one seat? Can I get, yes, you can't do everything, but that little bit what you will do will make all the difference. So with that, May 15th, please mark your calendar to come to that fundraising dinner. This will be awesome. You will love it. Bring the guest of the guests. They all will love it. And obviously, it starts with April 10th, where we are installing Srila Prabhupada. So please see me if you have any question or concern. And this is our way to engage you. This is our way to serve you. With that, Hare Krishna. There's a wonderful prasadam waiting for you outside. So please take darshan and have prasadam. Take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
I'll be right back.
Hare Krishna. No, I said it's okay because it's good. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prisaya Hey, I'm here, but Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prisaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirishesha Sunyavari Vaskatari Satarine Nailama Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Sri Hasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadada Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. You better than everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Where is she? You don't want to crush these. You want to.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Govinda Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Govinda Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radhe Radhe, Gopinatha Radhe, Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radhe Radhe, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.